Hi, this is attorney Nicole Christie from the Christie Law Firm, and today we want to talk about substantiation hearings. And I just wanted to share some of my experiences with substantiation hearings. And really, the big title of this is Why Bother? Why should you even do a substantiation hearing? And if you're not familiar with what those are, we do have some other videos, but I'll also go into some detail. So, after a child protection agency, especially here in Connecticut, they do an investigation. So, for example, if there was a allegation of physical neglect where the parents were supposed to do something with the child and didn't do it, left the child home alone or left the child in a car, please don't do that. But they, whatever they have done, it's led to an allegation of physical neglect. Now, there might be some, differences of opinions, and maybe the DCF worker didn't accept all the facts or didn't really look into all of the facts, and they make a substantiation. And so that is used in DCF's records, and if you decide to become a foster parent after there is a substantiation, it could actually bar you from doing that. And so there is this process of a substantiation hearing where you can actually sit with a hearing officer after DCF does their internal review and put on your own evidence, can cross-examine DCF's evidence or anyone that they have to testify and try to prove, hey, this really didn't happen. And so what I have found over this time period of doing these substantiation hearings, I tell people in most cases it's really 50-50. You don't have anything to lose from doing so, except for in cases where the police could be called if there was an issue of really an injury or something very significant, and the police could be called and you could be charged with risk of injury to a minor. That's the only time that I would tell people, hold on, make sure that the statute of limitations has run or that the police are not going to pursue an issue, and let that stay. So one of the things that I saw just over my own experience in dealing with or helping people with substantiation hearings is you never know. And I like telling people, go for it. You have nothing to lose. So I had a couple who were grandparents to this particular child, their grandchild, and their grandchild came over and they noticed some marks on their grandchild. And so they tried to contact both parents of what was going on. And one of the parents who actually had physical custody of the child was, non-responsive. And so they gave back the child and they said, hey, this is what's going on. Eventually, that came to the attention of a doctor, and so DCF looked back and said, well, you saw these injuries and you did nothing about it. You should be, cited for physical neglect. And so it became an issue because that child eventually came into foster care, and they barred my clients from being the foster parents for this child, and it was horrible. They couldn't even see that child. They couldn't be in contact with her. They couldn't hold her. They couldn't be grandparents and even a caretaker for their own grandchild. And so, they came to me and they, we filed different motions in court. We did get them involved in court, but they were still barred from being able to be a foster parent. So we decided, let's go forward with the substantiation hearing, and we did. And what was powerful was, we pulled together this information. I went through everything with them. We talked about what took place, and we decided, okay, here are some holes in this investigation. Let's go forward at this hearing. And so DCF put on their case, and I went line by line where I found that there were holes, and the holes were, DCF didn't take the kind of attention to the case specifically. They didn't really ask about time frames as to how long did they had this child. It was basically an overnight visit, and so they brought the child back to the parents, and the efforts that they made to contact the parents. And also DCF themselves didn't do anything about the injury itself. They actually removed the child for some other reason later on. And so we questioned DCF, and it got to a point where, it was very clear that they hadn't done their particular job as well. And so we waited for a decision, and when we got back the decision, it was reversed. Their substantiation was actually reversed. so exciting. It changed everything for them with the case. The child was actually reunified with the parents, but they no longer had this on their record. They no longer had this bar that if again in the future something should happen, they no longer have anything that would prevent them from being a foster parent. So, when I look back on that, I said to myself, you know what, it really is worth going forward. And there's also on DCF's website, there's a link to all of their substantiation decisions, and it's good to just read through them because they talk about different facts, they talk about what comes up. And what I noticed was it was really fact driven. So there's no clear cut case that says absolutely they're not going to reverse it, with one exception, and that is in the cases of sexual abuse. If there was a substantiation where it involved a child making a disclosure, that disclosure holding up under review for a forensic evaluation, they've been consistent in counseling, it's highly unlikely that's going to get reversed. And I do tell our clients that if they should have that kind of a case. But otherwise, it's great to try. It's great to go forward because people are not perfect. Investigators are not police officers. They're not trained to, do the kind of background check and do the kind of interviews and pour through all the information to make a decision. Sometimes they're just listening to people and they make a decision based off of what people say and not necessarily what could be proven in a court or even at an administrative hearing. So I say all that to say it's worth it. If you've got a substantiation, even if it's 20 years old, it's great to try to get that removed, especially if you're trying to get a license to be a clinician, or you want to be a foster parent, you want to give back to the community, you want to work with children. Some of these substantiations can go back. DCF keeps an entire record of it. It can go back 20 years. We've had to defend people who had a substantiation that was 14 years old. And you're thinking, can you let it go? No, they don't. So if you ever find that DCF has made a substantiation against you, do not give up. It can be something that can be looked at. Sometimes, as time goes on, they will actually reverse it in time because they thought, well, this person has made some differences in their life and this is a bar. This also applies to the central registry, especially. We've been successful in keeping people off of the central registry, getting them off the central registry with time. So, don't let a substantiation be something that stops you from moving forward in your life, especially if you want to do something, work with children, work in a context where, children are involved. That can stand against you. Or, like I said, God forbid you become a grandparent and now your grandchild needs a foster home. It is so heartbreaking not to be able to place a child with their grandparents because of a substantiation. If you ever need assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us. We also have lots of videos about how DCF operates, other videos about the substantiation, whatever you might have a question of. I think we have a video, and if we don't, let us know in the comments below. We'll make that video for you. All right, take care until the next time.